Hello, everybody. I'd like to talk to you today about making English exams, specifically oral exams, speaking tests, because I know that it could be a problem sometimes. And now in Taidong County, the Education Bureau wants English teachers to always include an oral exam score. Um, and not every school has foreign teachers. So I'd like to just share with you a little bit about how we do oral exams at Hot Spring Elementary School, and maybe you can use some of these ideas in your school as well. So there are some problems. They're all related, and this is what makes a situation difficult. Um, First, like I mentioned, maybe there are no other staff, the native English speakers or foreign English teachers, FETs, or the Fulbright ETAs. So maybe a local English teacher has to take care of oral exams all by himself or herself. Um, there's also limited time for testing because they have to take listening, writing, and reading exams as well. And then the theoretical nature of speaking. What are you going to test? Pronunciation, proper form, which could include grammar or sentence structure, or will it be real interaction like, hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. How old are you? I'm 10 years old. Sometimes when you talk to the students, beginner students, they'll confuse how are you? How old are you? The questions sound the same. So, are you going to test their ability to have a conversation or just how well they can say the sentence? Now, the solutions are a two-pronged approach and they address all the problems simultaneously. Biggest problem is time. You do need more time. So, make your exam, English exam, last 2 days. That's what we do. Simplify the assessment. I recommend that you only assess oral production, how well they speak, like pronunciation and speaking grammatically. Do not assess an interaction or try to have a conversation with them. Okay, so to make more time for tests, remember that the exams are individual, and that means that you have to have a few minutes devoted to each student. Um, and they can take their turns doing the oral exams while the other students work on paper tests. If you bring a student to the back of the classroom, to the teacher's desk, and do it quietly, other students can work and you can still do the oral exams. So when you have the test over 2 days, it gives you extra time to do the oral exams. Now at Hot Spring, we put the oral exams on the first day. On day one, try to finish 8 to 10 oral exams, and maybe you'll have to work into the break time, the 10-minute break or 15-minute break, if you have some slow learners, slow testees. So we bring them in for the period. They have a whole class. Whole class together does a listening test. And this will take about 20 minutes or so, 20 to 25 minutes. Then I collect the test papers. And then there's extra time. It's that time that we do the oral exams. So students work on extra work quietly, and I call on individual students to the back of the room to the teacher's desk, and I administer oral exam there. I try to keep it 3 to 5 minutes per student. Our classes are small, so I finish oral exams on this day, in one day, one period. Many of you have small schools as well, small classes. It's possible that you can do this. And maybe some of your learners are slow learners. Even with a small class, it might take a long time, more than a half hour. That's okay. Go into break time. Maybe you can finish almost all of the class in one period. If you're in a large school, then probably oral exams will go on to day 2, exam day 2. So this time now, on day 2, they are taking paper tests, reading and writing, the whole class together. It's a whole period, 40 minutes. And at this time, I recommend that you call on the students who are left over. Just take them up to the desk one by one and give them the oral exam. Then they return to their desk to finish their test. And again, if you have a situation, many slow learners, it's okay, use the break time. And even this has happened before in the past in my many years of teaching experience. I'm also calling on students after lunch, going back and picking up slack there. You can go ahead and do that too. Now, all of this is about saving time, just trying to squeeze in the time. And like I said, you have to simplify the assessment, focus on pronunciation, formal correctness. Also, keep the exam short, only 5 questions, and that means randomly sampling the vocabulary. This way, every student's exam is similar, but they will be different from the other students. And you get more than 5 points because each item is scored on a scale from 0 to 4 or 0 to 5 if you prefer. That would make a 20-point exam or a 25-point exam. Then it can be scaled up to 100 points percent very easily. On the oral exam paper, you should note the error or mistake that caused the point deductions. And like I said, there should be a marking sheet, a paper, a score sheet for each student. Okay, I'm about to show you the details of how that works out. So if you take a look at this QR code, you can get to this Google Drive that has the sample of the exam. The exam will be this semester's 中年级, 3rd and 4th grade, exam number 2. We use 3 exams per semester. This was exam number 2. They were doing Follow Me, book 6, and they were covering, the scope of the exam was unit 3 to 4. This was class C. We have ability grouped classes. This is the highest level class. Okay, I will come back to this at the end of the video, so if you didn't grab this QR code, but try and grab it now. Okay, and here we go. Now, I mentioned before that it's done during listening test day, so this is the listening test. This is actually the item review sheet. Normally the students write their name, it says name and class. This is the sheet that I give to the students after the exam as a review, and I show them their results, the item analysis. This was test 1 score, and this is test 2 score, and they can always see what the class progress is and also what the item score was. In another video, I'll talk to you later about making the listening test and what this V means. This is vocabulary. Some of these are labeled as vocabulary, and some of them are labeled I. This is inference. There's an I here. Let's see, there it is. There's an I, inference, conversations, and conversations between man and woman. Okay, this is the score sheet. It is the last page of the listening exam. So the students go in and they're doing a listening exam, and then the exam is over, collect all the papers. You have a stack of papers, then pick up a paper from the top or bottom of the stack, either way, and call on that student. And that student will come to you and answer questions. Please write the number of the question that you gave them. And for each student, they can actually be different questions. You can mix it up. You can also mix up the order. So what questions are they? Here they are. We use the picture prompts. I have this sheet printed out, and I show it to the students. We sit together, and I point to picture number 1. And if you know Follow Me, Book 6, Unit 3 is what's his or her favorite subject. Unit 4, the sentence pattern is what does he or she do after school? So you can see right now. Let's take a test. I'll test you right now. What's his favorite subject? Number 1. Okay, good. His favorite subject is science. Number 2, her favorite subject is Chinese. Okay, good, because you can see the picture. Number 3, his favorite subject is music. Number 4, what's her favorite subject? Did you say social studies? Good job. Okay, and you can see number 5 now looks like Unit 4. He walks the dog after school. Number 6, look at number 6. What does she do after school? Okay, she listens to music. Number 7, sorry. He surfs the internet. Okay, look at picture number 9. If you know Follow Me, there's a character called Dr. K. She has a time machine, and she goes back in time to see famous people. This is Madame Curie, and in the dialogue, they're looking for Madame Curie. She's in the library because she reads books after work. Okay, and students should be familiar with the sentence pattern after work. And they should also know Madame Curie. Okay, so these are the instructions for the teacher. It's just a guideline to help you remember what you want to ask. And you can see 1 to 4 will ask what's his or her favorite subject. Again, science, Chinese, music, social studies. So, if you ask question 1, then you would write, oops, sorry, let me change to English. Then you would write in item 1. We know that that's the science question now. And they could have a perfect answer. They'll say, his favorite subject is science. Okay, circle that. It's a perfect answer. Bing, 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 bing. But more typically, they'll make a very small mistake. They'll say, he favorite subject is science. All right, they won't change to the possessive. Okay, well then that's going to be a 3. They lose a point. It's almost correct, but we can hear a formal mistake. So you see how this is not really true interaction. It's how well they can simply express one simple idea. And then sometimes a student just really doesn't know, and they'll make some kind of mistake. They'll just say science, but they can't say the whole sentence. So I know that they understand, they know this vocabulary item, but they're not able to say it the way they should. And this is 2 out of 4. Now this is kind of like a failing mark. However, maybe there's a chance that they're nervous, especially the first time you give oral exams, if they're not used to it. Or they're a new student, a transfer student. They're not used to the way you do this. Okay, then over here in column 2, round 2, they get a second chance. If they score this low, test them again. Go through the rest of these items, let them build confidence. Maybe they're going to do better as they warm up. And then go back to this question again, the same question. Because you know that your student knows it's science. But what they may not know or may not have the ability to do, or maybe were nervous, their problem was they couldn't say the whole sentence. You give them a second chance. And maybe That was true. They were only nervous. And boom, they get up to the full sentence. His favorite subject is science. Okay, they get 3. When you add the score is the total of the best score. So maybe this one says 2 and this is 4. You would add up 3 plus 4, and you would ignore this lower score. You give them the better of the 2 scores. Okay, so that gives them a better chance. Now, what about 1? Typically, if a student says, I don't know, they say it in English. I don't know. Well, they communicated to me, at least at minimum in English, that they don't know or they forgot. So they get 1 point automatically. I'll still give them a second chance because maybe what they mean is they forgot and they might have their memory jogged by doing these other questions and they might have a chance to answer again, might have a better score. And of course, 0 is simply no response. They just stare at you. They can't say anything. They won't move their lips. Okay, so it's very rare to get 0. Sometimes it happens, but it's very rare. And these are the notes. This tells me exactly what the mistake was. Later, I can go back. I can always focus on what this type of error was. Um, okay. So, like I said, these questions can be completely different for each student or somewhat different. Usually I have 1 or 2 key questions that are the same across all students so that I can make a comparison, get a feel for what the whole class is like. But maybe student number 1 will have question 1, 2, and oh, look at this. I can mix it up. In this case, it says no picture. I can flip this paper over and then I can ask the student directly, what's your favorite subject? And they have to give me their own response. Okay, for items 5 to 9, it's the same procedure. It's he does something after school, and again, I have the option of no picture. What do you do after school? And if I taught this form in class, mother or father after work, and I know that they practice this and they understand the concept of after work, I can ask this question as well. Turn the paper over, and they can give me the true answer. My father reads a newspaper after work. My father, whatever. My mother watches TV after work. My mother cooks dinner. Um, they can say any of their answers. So this is how the oral exam works. And maybe back here you were probably thinking, oh, well, what if students just come back, because you're doing it one by one, they have a chance on the second day, they have a chance to tell their classmates what the questions were. Yeah, they do. Let them, because every student has a different test. And when the students who test on day 1 get together and have a meeting and discuss the questions that they had, and they try to feed advice to their classmates, what they're going to discover is that it's all of the vocabulary items, any or all of the vocabulary items in units 3 and 4. So then that means that the students who test on day 2, they still don't have any specific answers, and they still have to study all of the vocabulary. So it'll still force every student to study more, try to memorize more. And then you might say, well, it might be unfair, because that means another group of student has more time to study. Yeah, I know. So then remember on test 2, if you have 2 月考or 3 月考per semester, then mix up the order of the students. The students who tested on day 2 and maybe had some advantage the first time, call on them first in the second test. And this way, when you calculate the scores over the semester, this advantage evens out for everybody. Okay, and that's about it. So, if you have any questions, of course, if you're a Taidong teacher in Taidong, you know where to find me, and you can always pin me down and ask me more questions about this, and I'll be happy to discuss this, especially if I have copies of my exams on me. Um, for anyone else, maybe leave some comments, and maybe I'll see you again sometime in the future. I will make another video to talk about listening exams. And if I hear of any questions about this, I can address those questions in the second video. Here is a QR code, and you can get a sample of that oral exam. Okay, that's it. That's it for now. So goodbye and happy teaching.